Hold on. Yuck. Yuck.
Okay. So Zoya did a super chat and saying, why do so many people want to see you suffer? All right. Now, here's the thing, Zoya. I actually think that this mentality that everyone wants to see Phil suffer is actually not exactly what you're thinking, but there is two distinct groups of people, okay? Excuse me. Because I actually feel that there's three groups of people who watch my content, okay? First of all, there's a group of people who enjoy just watching me play anything and enjoy just chilling with me. These are the people that will come by for the chill streams like Skyrim. All right? They don't care that there's no high level of challenge. It's not about progression in a game. It's not about getting good or overcoming anything. It's literally just have some chill time with Phil. Have some fun conversation. Enjoy the gameplay as it happens. You see what I'm saying? It's different. It's a different kind of content creation. There's a lot of content creators out here who literally that's all that they have as a fan base. People who like their personality and their attitude and their mentality so much, they don't even care what they're doing. They'll watch them play a game. They'll watch them cook a meal. They'll watch them take a shit. Doesn't matter. They just like the person so much, it's considered chill streaming. Okay? And there's a lot of content creators who actually succeed like that. And I do believe that I do have... This is really pissing me off today. Anyway, I do really believe that I have a group of people who enjoy that content. If not, we would never have a late night chill stream that made sense. I'd have two people on them, right? Right. Now, there's another group of people that are not of that mentality. There's a group of people, and I would argue that this group of people might have actually been some of my longer time viewers, because they remember back to a time when I used to play every major game, and I used to rush through every major game. And for me, it was all about beating the games as quickly as humanly possible and getting that content out on the internet. It was definitely a different era. It was not the live streaming era. It was get that playthrough out and get those day one views, yada, yada, yada. All right? And so back then, okay, to see me play an ultra difficult game was a rare treat. Because if I played an ultra difficult game, well, here's someone who's trying to beat that game as fast as he can, and he's getting his ass beat, and it's funny as shit to see me rage and get pissed that there's a difficulty spike in a game, or to hit a wall in a game and I can't get past it, and to die to a boss again and again and again and again and again. And I feel like that's why when I originally played the original Dark Souls 1 and I had no idea what I was getting into, that's why that is still one of the most infamous and most well-known playthroughs I've done, because of my reactions, because of the fact that the game defeated me and I gave up on it, right? And I agree with you. That's entertainment. And I'm happy to have done that. I really am. Because you can now look at how I've changed over the years as both a gamer and a content creator, and see that I have taken the time to study and persevere at that style of game. But there's still this element that if Phil's going to be challenged by something ultra hard and he's going to fail and die, it's very entertaining. I'll be honest with you guys. A lot of the time so far in this Elden Ring playthrough, I come down to the very last hit of a boss. And sometimes I get the hit and sometimes I don't. Those are the moments, right? Those are the epic moments that people come to see. Me too. Like, I feel when I'm in the middle of this epic situation, okay, this epic situation of playing a game like this and having a situation where it's like, man, at any moment if I make a wrong move, I'm done. I gotta start over, right? It's cool. It's a unique feeling. And I love that suspenseful feeling. I get goosebumps sometimes during an epic boss fight in one of these games, and I gotta try to be like, oh no, stay calm. Don't get nervous. Don't let it bother you. You're going to beat this guy. Just, stay calm, play your game. You know what I mean? It's kind of the same mentality I used to have when I used to play competitive Street Fighter. You You may know you're going up against something epically challenging, a well-known pro player. No. Play your game, learn the match, play it well. You can do this. Doesn't matter who you're facing. It's for irregardless. You as long as you believe in yourself and you can persevere through this, right? And it's crazy that people play these games at a high level with such an audience, right? So, there's a group of people, that's what they live for, man. That's why they watch Darkside Phil. Those moments of him either failing, and raging, or finally epically persevering, overcoming, okay? And I'm totally okay with that. That absolutely, that makes sense to me. And would you say those people want to see me suffer? Well, yeah. It's not necessarily fun to watch someone literally steamroll absolutely everything in a video game. I told you guys how disappointed I am that Radahn was nerfed. I wanted to have challenge, and that challenge was taken away from me by FromSoft when they patched the game, okay? And that really upsets me. That absolutely upsets me. All right? But there is a third group of people. I like to call the hate watchers. All right? These aren't people that like me and want to chill with me. These aren't people that enjoy my personality when I come up against something challenging and like to see me fail because of my reactions and then eventually persevere. These people are genuinely bad-intentioned, toxic, negative people who for one insane reason or another, and yes, I will absolutely categorize it as insane, because the reason that these people hate me makes no fucking sense. These are people who never met me. These are people who don't know any truth about me. What they've heard is slander, defamation, conspiracy, and contrived bullshit. But people have found ways to take slander, defamation, conspiracy, and contrived bullshit and turn it into popularity on the internet. And so, when people are literally daily live streaming my content illegally, talking shit, making shit up, always doing toxic memes, insulting, bringing up new conspiracy after new conspiracy, like the newest one is, Phil's been using a guide all along. Phil has not done a legitimate thing in Elden Ring. He literally researches every possible thing beforehand so that he can persevere in the game, because if he didn't, he would never beat anything in the game, right? You know, one of the famously and infamously times that I did really well in the game was the end of Sekiro. I legit had never seen the final boss of Sekiro before I fought him. Not once. I didn't watch a video or playthrough. I never looked ahead in the game. I was fighting that for the first time legit, and within 3-4 tries beat him. All right? While other people were taking hours and hours, it took me 3-4 tries. I was like, I got him. I know what to do. Take this. Okay? To this day, people will not admit that I did well in the game. He cheated. He looked that up. He definitely looked that up, because somewhere down in our twisted, toxic hearts, right? We can't believe that this guy could possibly do good at anything. He's the ultimate bum, right? He's terrible at everything he does. He schlubs his way through life. He doesn't deserve any popularity. He's never been good at anything. They write off my Street Fighter years, right? They say that I never did anything good in Street Fighter. That even though there's years of history, tournament results all over the internet, right? He was never good at Street Fighter. Even though it's well documented that I was a prominent tournament director on the East Coast of the United States for a good 2-3 years in the New York and other tri-state area. Phil never contributed anything positive to the Street Fighter community. He was always just a toxic jerk. They literally just erase history to pass their own twisted, toxic narrative. And they believe it, because these are the same people that believe insane conspiracy theories about everything else. They likely think that vaccines are dangerous to you. They probably think that there's a fucking conspiracy against them in the government. You know what I'm saying? Like, they believe in crazy shit. But that kind of people, they flock together on the internet, and they form entire communities. And there's people who, I hate to say it, prey on those people. All right? Do I actually believe that the people who watch the restreamers of my content, excuse me, let me rephrase that. Do I actually believe that the restreamers of my content believe 90% of the shit that they say about me? No. What I think has happened is they realize now that they can take advantage of a bunch of gullible, stupid people. And they realize that they need to constantly be stirring them up to get that fervor going, to keep that gravy train rolling for them. So if it means making something up completely, or taking something and twisting it in a way that it's not what it was intended, or literally just pulling conspiracy out of thin air out of their ass, they will do it on a daily basis in order to profit. Essentially, they're cult leaders. They have this weird, cultish, toxic following to hate Phil, hate Phil, hate Phil. And you might say, where did it come from? Originally, it came from things like This Is How You Don't Play, making it virally popular to crap on Darkside Phil. But when people saw that innocent, maybe not necessarily harmful videos like that were becoming popular, they said, well, how can I push that further to make myself benefit? And they became leaders of groups of crazy conspiracy theorist people to benefit from that. You see, they're basically swindlers. They're the ultimate, you know, the people who lead these cults in real life because they're just trying to get something out of it. That's literally what they, whether it's for ego, whether it's for actual money, whatever it may be, that's who these people are. And they're absolutely taking advantage of the people who watch their content and milking them. 100 fucking %. That's why they do it. They're not doing it because they believe all of that shit. They factually say things that are wrong. They've outright made videos saying, Darkside Phil rage quits. When I didn't rage quit, I'm still playing the game. But they literally make shit up daily to get that insanely gullible, stupid, convincible audience to go along with the new negative thing they're saying to make a buck, or to get over, or to be more popular, get the clicks, get the views, get the subs, whatever it may be, okay? And this is a very sad group because they literally want to see me suffer despite the fact that the reasons behind it are not real. And the problem with that is you can't fight that. How do you fight complete nonsensical insanity? You can't convince them anything factual because they believe nonsense on a daily basis, you know? If anything, it should be someone like YouTube or Twitch who's looking at shit like that and saying, this person's a shit stirrer. All they do is talk shit and literally have no productive content. All they're here to do is hurt and get over by crapping on someone. That is not content that should be allowed. In reality, outside of the realm of the internet, it's not. People get sued all the time for defamation or slander, and there's big court cases about it. You read about them in the media and everything, right? You can't just say and do whatever you want about someone and drag them through the mud and make shit up about them to get over yourself. It's not legal to do so. In India, you can't even say factual things about someone that's negative. I'm not even kidding. There's actually a law in India that even if someone factually did something bad, you can't say it in the public because it's considered defamatory, and you could sue them for it. That's fucking crazy, in my opinion, by the way. But the point I'm making here is, this whole era of internet content creation has opened the door to like the Wild West of this kind of shit. There's no regulation, there's no protections against it, and sadly, I've become one of the people who's been a major victim of this kind of internet ire, where something as innocent as This Is How You Don't Play, make fun of that how Phil plays games because he's not very good at them, turned into Phil is the most evil, lying, cheating, you know, dishonest person on the internet, and every day he's breaking laws and doing terrible things to people all around him, so you should hate on him constantly, but by the way, watch my content and give me clicks and likes and send me money on my live streams and do this and do that. Wait, what? Where did that part come in? Right? Because the truth of the matter is, if you were out to just expose someone doing something wrong, you wouldn't monetize it. You would just do the right thing. But instead, you're monetizing every piece of it. You're accepting all these contributions and donations. That's why you're doing it. You're a fucking dishonest piece of shit. Let's be honest here. How many of my major detractors out there are not benefiting from it in some way? Are you out of your mind? They're doing it for a reason. And again, they are taking advantage of a large group of people on the internet that have banded together, finding a sense of belonging, a sense of the same mindset. You know, when people think the same way, they tend to group together. So if everyone has this weird groupthink mentality that I'm bad, right? They're going to flock together. And now where do we rally? On the people who are restreaming and making fun of Phil constantly. On the people who are making defamatory videos about Phil constantly. Well, is any of it true? Well, it must be. I just want to believe it. Who cares if any of it's substantiated? We'll just believe it. Phil rage quit that game, but I'm still playing the game. Phil rage quit that game. Phil was never good at Street Fighter. But what about all these years of tournament history that's well documented on the internet? Phil was never good at Street Fighter. And they actually revel in that shit, you know? So, yeah, Zoya, that's the three groups, you know? I don't believe that everyone out there absolutely wants to see me suffer. I think that there is a group of people that want to see me be challenged. They feel that when I'm playing a game, to see that level of challenge adds to the enjoyment because there's a sense of overcoming an obstacle. It's not steamrolling constantly, and I agree to some extent with that. But there's a large group of people out there that are being misled by essentially a bunch of cult leaders who are doing this to make a buck on their behalf, and these people need to have their eyes open and say, wow, these people have been using us for years, and it's getting worse and worse. Why are we becoming more and more gullible on a daily basis? In the scope of things, all right, I am absolutely positively tiny. I am small potatoes. I don't make a ton of money. I'm definitely not hugely popular. Why do you think these people hyper-focus on me? Right? Even if every possible thing they were saying about me was true, which it is not, the vast majority of what they say about me is false. But even if it were all true, who fucking cares with how small of a guy I am on the internet? There are people out there that are doing way worse things. On a daily basis, they're hurting people. They're lying to their audience. I've explained to you guys many times, that over the years, the things that is happening with the gaming community, people who have become paid shills, literally paid advertisements for games, they're doing way more harm to the public at large than anything I've ever done. I'm the antithesis of the shit that they do to harm every day, yet somehow they make me out to be the villain. Why? I'll tell you why. Because those people aren't doing it because they feel like they're exposing something great or bad. They're doing it because they found a way to monetize it. That's why. The day that everyone who dislikes me turns ads off, stops accepting donations, stops getting super chats, super stickers, cheers, subs, and monetary donations, is the day that it all goes away. Because that's what it's all about in the modern era. It ain't about hating Phil. It's about taking advantage about a bunch of gullible people who want to believe whatever you tell them because they got this sense of community and worth around it. And then you milk them for all they're worth because you think that they're stupid and you don't respect your audience. That's exactly what these people have been doing all along. Alrighty then. Zoya did another super chat. Said it's crazy. As a new reviewer, I didn't know how bad the trolling can be. Yeah, and it's sad, and there's nothing I can do about it. I've tried for years to reason with people. I've tried to counter some of the crazy stuff that's said about me. But the thing is, when you have a group of people that believe anything, and they want to believe anything, you can't ever make them see reason. Because at any moment, someone will just make something else up, and that's the new thing that's talked about constantly. So, there's not much I can do to counter that stuff. You know what I'm saying? I could sit here and do an entire stream. Here's the debunking stream. And I'll tell you the truth behind what happened here and the truth about what happened here. But then there's 10 other things that come up, so it doesn't matter. So there's no point in addressing any of it. Only Iced Coffee did a super chat. Saying the sad part about this is the trolls will clip this rant and take it out of context and make money on your content. Yeah, because here's what they'll do. I can tell you exactly what they're going to do because they do it so much that now it's just a fucking tried-ass formula. They'll take what I just said and they'll say, you see, but everything that Phil just said can be applied to himself and here's how. And then they'll show a million defamatory things that aren't true about me and claim that I'm a hypocrite. And they'll say, well, here's the evidence. And there's no evidence. All it is conspiracy, leaks, bullshit. Stuff that's not corroborated and not factual. But they've said those things so many times over the years about me, they act like it's factual when it's not. They actually convince their communities to believe their own bullshit that they made up, and now it's a fact in their crazy minds, so you can't ever disprove them. You see what I'm saying? Right now, I could have a legal document proving something about me, and I would show it to you, and they'd immediately say that's a doctored document. There's no way to prove that it's real. So what's the point of me ever saying anything? And anything I say and do, it could always be said as he's lying, then there's no point in ever bothering with their nonsense. So, I don't. Oh, see, and I very well could, too. Top Op Smoke Puffa says, you should slander them instead. Start the information war. Phil strikes back hard. If I were ever to do what they did do to me back to them, they would not survive. They would not fucking survive. They would be buried. Because these people who usually do shit like this, actually, they're the worst ones. But I'm not that kind of person. I don't make toxic content. I'm not going to fuck around or go down that rabbit hole, that slippery slope. That is a bad place to be, and I refuse to do it. I'm a positive content creator. I've definitely changed myself over the years from who I used to be. I purposely don't make that kind of content, and I don't want to. So I absolutely refuse to do what they do back to them. You know, they say fight fire with fire. Not if it means sacrificing who you are as a person and as a content creator, and I'm not going to do that shit. Das Bullshit just did a super chat and says the following. I remember being tactically involved. Wait, no. Tacitly involved? In a way that is understood or implied without being directly stated. So he was involved in hate watching, meaning he watched me in a hateful manner but wasn't directly involved in the hate. Gotcha. Thank you. I had to look the word up. I actually didn't know what the word meant. I remember being tacitly involved in the hate watching right up until that they started attacking just to get a rise out of you. Then it got uncomfortable. And again, at one point, absolutely positively, the things that were said against me, I feel were true. At one point, it was, while Phil is, first of all, he refuses to improve his content, right? He doesn't implement anything that would make him a better gamer or a better content creator. Meaning, I didn't want to do direct capture. I didn't want to do live streaming. I didn't want to interact with my audience. I didn't want to do special events and things for my audience that they would benefit from. For the longest time, it was Phil sits in front of his TV with a camera right here, and he talks when he plays games, and it's the same thing every single fucking day. And I get that. That was a valid criticism. When I sat here and literally every waking moment of playing a game, I would complain and yell at a game director or a game developer, yes, that was a valid criticism. There was a lot of things about me back then that were quite embarrassing and bad as a content creator. It was also my shtick. That was the thing that a lot of people came to see me do, and that's what kept my audience coming back. They liked the shtick that I did. It's funny because some people say, was that a character? Was it a character? Well, what it was it was over-the-top reactions. Did I genuinely have some of the feelings that I expressed in those videos? Yes, but I was always kind of overdoing it and over-exaggerating it to get that reaction out of people, to get people to come back. If something's working and people like it and want to come back and see more, why not keep giving them what they want? You know what I'm saying? But what ended up happening was, over time, everything else evolved and not me. And that's where the rise of This Is How You Don't Play came from. People basically saying, Phil, your content is so outdated at this point because you absolutely refuse to change. You're the same guy 5 years later and everyone else has moved on and doing different stuff and you're not, right? They were absolutely positively correct. And it took me many years to figure this out. Even when I adopted direct capture and live streaming, I still refused to acknowledge my streaming audience for 4 fucking years. 4 more years that I didn't do it. It's like, what was I thinking? I was a fucking buffoon. Finally, in 2017, I started to get it. had to get out of that mentality of being a YouTuber making offline videos and realize that the future is interaction with you guys. The future is having this organic chemistry, talking and having a fun time together live, and then having that genuine enjoyment of what I'm doing come through in the on-demand videos. Because back then, yeah, was there some enjoyment? Of course, but I was getting so burnt out on the formula that I was doing. I'm so happy to not have to do that shit anymore. So yeah, listen, I get it. Back then, it was fun to make fun of Darkside Phil because he was the obstinate, stubborn asshole. He didn't want to improve. He didn't want to put out quality content. He didn't even care about putting out quality content. He just wanted to put out the stuff that made people laugh to make a buck. You're right. But I changed along the way. I had an epiphany in 2017 when I realized it was either change for the better or pack it up and get the fuck out. And I saw the light. Those first few months when I started being that interactive streamer, I was like, geez, it's so different. Now when I'm a streamer, I can play stuff more long form. I don't have to rush through the games. I can enjoy them for what they are. People want to interact with me and talk with me when I play them. It is such a different, really different situation. You know? And I love it. But now, you're absolutely right, Das Boshi. It becomes, instead of, let's legitimately criticize Phil and make fun of him for his shortcomings, it's, now let's get personal. Let's personally, on every possible level, say nasty things about him, whether they're truthful or not, to get that rise out of my audience and make a buck. That's what it's become. I appreciate, Das Boshi, that someone like you, who maybe previously didn't like me, and was part of that poke at Phil, make fun of him, turned around and now, you know, you've been a big supporter. You have. You've been nice to me over the years. You've said nice things on the streams. You've supported here and there, and I really appreciate that. Thank you for that. George R.R. Miyazaki tipped me $2, says, should we release a gamer declaration of independence? We gamers shall live free from persecution in our gamer republic. That sounds really dramatic and kind of over the top, and I'm not saying that. I'm saying, just because you upload a video to YouTube, it should not give everyone else on the internet free reign to literally make shit up about you. There should be protections in place, and there are absolutely none unless you have a lawyer on full-time employment ready to slap down a cease and desist at every waking moment. No, it's not fair. It's an unfair place. It's really fucked up. Only Iced Coffee, thanks for the super chat. There's absolutely no reason I'm even going to read that, because if I do, it's just going to cause a bunch of people to rip their hair out and go crazy, and it's just going to cause drama, and you know that, so I'm not reading that. There's absolutely no way I'm reading that. Okay. Legmick says, you said you didn't interact in the first 4 years of streaming. How come? Okay. By the way, Legmick, I think your membership expired right now. It did. You had the silver crown, and it disappeared between your two comments. Just so you know. Don't know if you knew that or not. Because it threw me off, because I'm looking at him like, it's definitely the same guy, but his crown's gone, his name's not green anymore. Anyway, the first 4 years that I streamed, it was interesting, because I could see the direct reactions to what was happening when I was streaming, and I liked that, but I felt like people weren't there. And in particular, there's another thing you got to remember too. I should bring this up because this is very important. This is very important for context. At the time, 2013, when I started live streaming, live streaming was not necessarily fully monetizable. And what I mean by that is things such as cheering and stuff was not actually really implemented yet. It wasn't like, oh, I could be a full-time streamer because I get subs and cheers and tip revenue and all that. It wasn't like that at all. It was more like, yes, you could live stream, and it was more about getting just the subs. And then please pledge to my Patreon or buy a product that I'm pushing on my stream. That's more what it was like back then, okay? It's not like today, you see? And so that being said, I knew that the vast majority of any money that I was going to make to run my business was going to be on YouTube ad revenue. Because in 2013, YouTube ad revenue was still good. It wasn't until 2017 that the big adpocalypse happened and it all plummeted, and now you can't make a living just with basic videos on YouTube anymore. Okay? So I knew that even though I was live streaming at the time, I had to make my main focus putting the same quality of video out for the YouTube on-demand viewer, because that's where my bread and butter was coming from. That's where my support was primarily coming from. Okay? So even though I was live streaming, I would ignore the audience. I would see what they were saying. It was interesting to see some of the reactions, but admittedly, yes, there were times when things didn't go well. I mean, I'm not going to bring up the specifics, but remember the infamous Kingdom Hearts finale incident and stuff like that, which I look back today and I'm like, man, what a stupid situation. If I were a different kind of content creator back then, that never would have even happened. But because I was being this kind of stupid offline content creator who was online, didn't make sense, it just set myself up for disaster in a lot of ways. And so, yeah, like, it was interesting because at first I was like, oh, this is like a whole new world of content creation. I can watch live and I can see who likes it and who's not liking it. I can see the live reaction and maybe even steer the content in one direction or another, depending on how the audience is reacting live. But at the same time, I felt like I had to directly act like they weren't there so that the on-demand viewer wouldn't feel like the content was geared just towards the live audience. A lot of the people were afraid when I became a live streamer that, man, all your content has changed now because all you do is talk to the audience constantly. You see? In fact, it was funny. It was absolutely one of the criticisms I got at the time was that, Phil, we can tell that stream chat is just spoiling the entire game for you. Because as you're going through the game, you're doing so well, and we know that you don't do well in games. So obviously people are just telling you everything on the fly in the stream chat, and your content has changed. And the truth is, they weren't. And a lot of the times, no one was spoiling anything. It was just I was doing well, and people wanted an excuse why Phil sucks. So they would always say, oh, it was the stream chat told him to do it, the stream chat. But no, it wasn't. Excuse me. So I hope that's a good answer for you. Alice Telemon tipped me another $1.50. He says, the Street Fighter 4 content was absolutely fabulous. I felt from day one what you were doing. Talking shit as if you were in an arcade with friends or at home with a friend playing together, calling things out, even if you knew it was bullshit, just having great fun. Exactly right. You know what? And this is actually very truthful too. Arcade days were very different than what you have now with fighting games. Back then, it was actually just as important to be good at the game as it was to be a good shit talker. I'm not kidding. It was part of the cultural experience to deride your opponents when you played them, so that way you could mentally throw them off and beat them, because then you're the king of the cabinet and you get to keep playing while others have to step up and keep putting money in the machine. It was part of it. Today, it's all outlawed. You can't talk shit during a competitive match, but it was part of the overall experience back then. So when I'm making the content of Street Fighter 4, you know, over a decade ago, I'm trying to bring that experience into the content that I was making and let you guys kind of see exactly how it was back in the day. Now, to some extent, it was completely unfair because it's me talking shit to someone on the other end of the internet who can't even hear me. They can't make a retort. And I knew that. It was a captive audience. It was a captive play. You know, there was no way for them to counter what I was saying and doing. And to some extent, I think that's why people liked the content. It was like, damn, Phil the Bully beating people up in Street Fighter 4 and basically talking shit the whole time, right? People enjoyed that. That was the shtick at the time, right? So, you know what I'm saying? But now, things are so different. Now, if I were to make content just like that today, people would go nuts. This guy is out of his mind. What is he, a giant egotist? What is he, a fucking asshole? And you know what I mean? Like, people would go nuts to make that kind of content. I'd probably get in trouble. I'd probably get reported on fucking YouTube and have videos taken down for community guidelines for being mean. Seriously. Jay Love the Flash says, wasn't the big tournament you won lacking a lot of key players during that time? No, I didn't even win that tournament. I won many other tournaments that had key notable players in them, but the one everyone talks about is the one that a few key players boycotted. And the ones that were in it, I beat. So there you go. Get the story straight. Money, money, yeah, yeah. Money, money, oh, money, money, yeah, yeah. Money, 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 yeah, yeah. Money, money, oh, money, money, yeah, yeah. These contributions are mandatory. Money, money, yeah, yeah. Money, money, oh, money, money, yeah, yeah. Money, money, money. money.
Free.
Money, money, yeah, yeah. Money, money. Oh, money, money, yeah, yeah. Money, money. Money, money, yeah, yeah. Money, money. Oh, money, money, yeah, yeah. These contributions are mandatory. Tipping me helps me more than anything.